This is an abridged audio version of an article from xyz.net.au from July 18th, 2023, and written by Adam Piggott, as originally published at Pushing Rubber Downhill. Adam Piggott writes, "There are certain certainties in life, such as death and taxes. Today, however, we can add another unfortunate reality to the list. People occasionally make poor decisions. While it's important to acknowledge that this has been the case throughout history and is not limited to any particular group, the current situation in my home state of Western Australia is a prime example of such poor judgment among some members of the Aboriginal community, when given a modicum of authority over public or private land through legislation. Some Aboriginal groups respond in a manner that could be considered questionable. If this level of power were enshrined in the Australian Constitution, it is conceivable that Aboriginal groups might seek financial compensation for every imaginable land use, event, construction project, or farming endeavour. The recently passed Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Act in Western Australia, which came into effect on July 1st of this year, serves as a glimpse into what could transpire with the proposed voice to Parliament. The Act is complex and ambiguous, leading to excitement among Aboriginal groups who are eager to secure as much compensation as possible before any potential changes occur. As a result, they have demanded a relatively small sum of $2.5 million to permit the planting of trees by government organisations along the Canning River foreshore. It is worth noting that when Aboriginal groups make such demands, elected political representatives often shy away from addressing the issue head-on. Few things are as cowardly as an Australian politician publicly confronted by Aboriginal compensation requests. Western Australia has a history of experiencing such situations, dating back to the mid-1980s, when the development of a derelict brewery site on the Swan River was delayed for years due to passionate Aboriginal demands for compensation, the nature of which remains unclear to this day. Unfortunately, many local politicians did little to resolve the situation. As a teenager at the time, I vividly remember cycling past one of these protests on a sunny day, only to have an intoxicated Aboriginal individual abruptly accuse me in a loud and unsettling manner of being a white racist cunt. Even at that young age, the combination of words struck me as somewhat contradictory. But I digress. Western Australia's new legislation may well become the deciding factor in defeating the proposed voice to Parliament, as it has prematurely showcased the potential consequences of such a voice. The haste with which individuals in Western Australia have sought Aboriginal compensation must be causing panic among their federal Labor counterparts. It has been a mere 17 days since the legislation was passed, and already some individuals are scrambling to secure what they perceive as their fair share. If they possessed any strategic thinking, they would adopt a humble stance, assuring the average Australian citizen that the new legislation would not significantly impact their lives, in order to entice a yes vote for the voice. Once they gained representation in Parliament, they could then pursue their more ambitious and self-serving agendas. Unfortunately, this level of foresight appears to elude them entirely. In fact, their lack of strategic thinking serves as damning evidence against the voice proposal. Are we expected to grant the ultimate legislative power to a group that seemingly lacks sound judgment? Just a few years of such a scenario, and Australia could potentially rival countries like South Africa and Rhodesia in terms of regressive decision-making. Of course, those advocating for the voice are well aware of these concerns. They simply don't want the public to realise the implications until it is too late. Therefore, they try to guilt people into voting yes by labelling them as racists, employing various other manipulative tactics. However, it is better to be accused of racism than to have a group with questionable decision-making capabilities ruling over us.